Everyone. Today I am back with my audiobook series. Now, I know it may or may not have been like 5 months since I've done one of these, but I've been working some more on it. But anyways, let's begin. Chapter 5, Act 4. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, and have a Happy New Year. Nearly 2 months had passed, and it was Wednesday, December 20th, 1761, 2 days away from Nick's 2110th birthday, and Nick was out of universe Christmas shopping for Maverick. Well, Nick didn't know if that was the case for him as well. Nick had gotten Maverick a newer Focus because the one he gave to him on his first full day of being in the Dragon's world was highly outdated by 1,000 years and sat in storage on the Maverick, turned off before the ship was even launched. After Nick was done, he was going to go home, but he got a call from the shipyard the new Midorian space naval vessel Maverick was at. "Hello?" Nick said. "Hey Emperor, we are calling to tell you that repairs have been completed on your flying ship. If you want, you can come use it to get home," the person on the other end said. "Wait, y'all already put more people on it?" Nick asked. "Yes, and it's waiting in orbit of Earth in the Upside Down, waiting for its assignment with its escort fleet," the person said. "Okay, I'll be there in a bit," Nick said as he hung up. Nick finished shopping and went outside to the landing pad section of the store, then put what he bought in storage, then took off. When Nick got to his ship in the Upside Down, far below the ship, in its escort battle group, was the dull and dark gray of the Upside Down's Earth, with red flashes and clouds every few seconds. As Nick flew closer to the ship and entered one of its hangar bays, he landed his plane and headed to the bridge where the captain's seat was, waiting. On his way to the bridge, every single person he came across saluted him. He was the Emperor after all, but Nick thought to himself, "Is that even necessary? I should have made the announcement long ago, but I guess I should not. Guess now I should." Around 20 minutes later, he reached the bridge, and once he was in the captain's seat, he set course for the universe of angels with scaly wings and jumped. After he jumped back to his home world, his ship detected another comet, albeit way smaller, on a near collision course with Earth, and Nick had the ship's AI make a few calculations about its trajectory. Luckily, it was going to pass Earth and collide with Venus. When Nick returned home, it was 3 p.m., so he had some time to kill after he hid the new Focus somewhere in his plane's cockpit. So he walked to the portal for some fresh air and some time to think. Nick had a coat on because he still wanted to be warm in the 41-degree Fahrenheit weather of late fall. Nick did remember that tomorrow was the beginning of winter. Once Nick was on the hill, he looked across the landscape. The trees had no leaves and hardly anybody was flying. I guess it's too cold even for the dragons to fly without heat," Nick said to himself. Then Nick saw something shimmering in the sunlight in the short grass a few feet away. So Nick went to investigate what it was. Nick picked up the object and he realized it was part of a revolver cylinder and he put it in his pocket. Then he sat down for a while before he went home. By the time Nick got home, Maverick had arrived and was watching TV and said, "Hey babe, how's your day?" Nick took off his coat and said, "Good. How about you, my handsome dragon?" "Also good. Do you want dinner?" Maverick said. "Yeah, I'm a little hungry," Nick said as he settled in more. I'll go make us something. You just sit back and relax and stay warm. Maybe get your pajamas or whatever it's called on," Maverick said as he got up and then went into the kitchen. Nick got changed into his pajamas and waited for Maverick to come back. After a while, sorry to yawn, Maverick came back for their dinner, and a few hours later it was time to go to sleep. Nick was already snuggled up to Maverick, so Maverick asked, "Should I just turn all the lights off and we sleep here? You look too cozy to move." "Sure," Nick said as Maverick got up and turned off the lights. The only thing that illuminated the house was the soft lights on the Christmas tree that Nick and Maverick put up the in the beginning of December. When Maverick and Nick had cozied back up, Maverick asked, "So, your birthday is in 2 days. What do you want?" "Hmm. You, pajamas, and hot chocolate, and I already have two of those things," Nick said as he began to feel warm and fuzzy, which he referred to as melting. "Aw, is my cute little precious human melting?" Maverick asked. Nick made a sound of being content with what was going on, and Maverick kissed him on the forehead goodnight. Then they fell asleep. Mm. When Nick woke up, it was time to go to work, and on the calendar on his focus, he marked off another day, and it was the last day before his birthday. Soon he was out of the door with Maverick, and they walked to the police station when Maverick asked, "So, last night you mentioned you wanted hot chocolate, correct?" "Yes, Maverick, I did. And I believe you could go pick that up after work later," Nick said. "Yes, and when you say we, you mean me," Maverick said. Nick laughed and said, "Oh, Maverick, you sweet boy. No, I mean me and you this time. Not like the bird incident of last month when we had that improvised Thanksgiving was not a normal that is not a normal thing here. Yeah, it was fun in the kitchen though. If I remember correctly, you said we needed a kitchen traffic controller because the amount of times we collided," Maverick said. Nick and Maverick walked in the door, and Nick, as he saw Sebastian, said, "Hey, Seb, want to be our kitchen traffic controller next year on November 28th next year?" Sebastian looked up from a book and said, "I don't even know what you just said, so no." Oh God! Oh, my eye! Ah! I hate the pollen. I hate and love spring. I hate the pollen. Okay, anyways, Nick burst out laughing and said, "Okay, that's fine with us. Have a good morning." Nick began to walk to Naomi's office because for the next few days he was scheduled to help with paperwork, and Maverick went on patrol. During the middle of Nick's shift, he got a call from Henry, and Nick said to Naomi, "Hey, hold on. I'll be right back. I have to take a call." It's fine. You can take your time," Naomi said. Nick stepped out of the office and picked up the call. Hey Henry, what's happening? Nick said. Hey Nick, I'm just calling to say happy early birthday and that I might try to come over tomorrow with other people, Henry said as he hung up. Very, very silly of you to do that, Henry, Nick said as he walked back into the small office. The rest of the day went by faster than usual, and he walked to the store after his shift at 3 p.m. And when he got there, he got a box of hot chocolate, paid, then left to go home. While walking home, he stopped and took in the surroundings and thought to himself, damn, this is way prettier than back home could ever be. I wish. Nick's thought was cut off by Dean's voice saying, Hey Nick. Nick turned around to see a Dean and Remy with a small pink four-legged dragon. Oh hey guys, how's your day been? Nick said. Pretty good, Remy said. That's good to hear, Remy. Tell me, did you guys hear there's a high chance of snowing for the rest of the week? Nick said excitedly. No, I didn't check the weather today, Remy said. After a minute of talking, Nick began to walk home again, and once he was at his house, he went inside, took off his coat, and took a nap. Well, he fell asleep watching some random TV show. I need to do some very quick fixies. You guys saw nothing. You guys literally saw nothing. Okay? Just between me and you, nothing happened. A few hours later, Nick was woken up by Maverick inches away from his face, and Nick startled said, Oh hey babe, I guess you're home. Yep, and I brought home dinner from the cafe, Maverick said before kissing Nick on the lips. Oh, you're so sweet. What have you gotten us? Nick said with a slight blush on his face. Just the usual for you, so just a burger, meat and cheese only with fries, and I got myself a few pieces of chicken, Maverick said, sliding a to-go box next to Nick, and Nick opened it. It seems smaller than usual. Seems like they're finally getting used to human-sized food after a few months. Actually, I requested it slightly smaller than usual size, just so you can finish it in a day, even though I know you do like leftovers. Maverick said. Well, that's very considerate of you, Nick said before he started to eat. Maverick also began eating, when after a few seconds, and he swallowed his food, he asked Nick, Are you ready for tomorrow, Nick? No, I'm not ready for tomorrow, Maverick. Well, I'm slightly ready, Nick said. Good, I'm glad you're ready for tomorrow, Maverick said before taking another bite out of his food. For the next few hours, Nick and Maverick did what they normally did every day. When Nick decided that he would go to bed earlier because the next day he had to work later than usual. That's totally not a sign that someone manipulated the schedule for some reason whatsoever. When Nick woke up in the morning on his birthday with a slightly saddened yet excited energy, he got up and got dressed. He wondered what was in store for him today. After Nick got dressed, he walked to the police station for his day of work. Once at work, he said good morning to everyone It began to work like normal. At 1:30 p.m., Nick decided to take a short walk to a nearby small store and got a prepackaged sandwich and a small candy bar since it was his lunch break. A few hours later, at 5:57 p.m., and the sun was setting, I think that was an error. Hold on, I got. Okay, once again, we saw nothing. The sun was setting, and Nick was walking around the police station with Naomi when no, not Reza. No, no, no. In an alternate timeline, that would have been good because that means he would have been arrested. But no, not Reza. Anybody but him. For the love of God. Okay, anyway. Nick was walking out of the police station with Naomi when Remy came up to him and asked, "Hey Nick, I heard you have some books on human history. Can I come with you and borrow a few?" "Sure thing, Remy. Just come with me back to my house and I'll get them for you," Nick said while walking with Remy, not noticing that Naomi was going in the same direction as them, even though her house was on the opposite side of town. When Nick got home with Remy, he checked the door and it was unlocked. Nick wasn't surprised though, since Maverick was home. As soon as Nick opened the door and stepped inside his house, he felt like something was off. The lights were off, and it was quiet. Unnaturally quiet. Nick took a few more steps trying to check the dark corners as he super adjusted his eyes when all of a sudden the lights came on and Maverick, Bryce, Ushio, Sebastian, Zong, Henry, and all the other people from that universe popped out, and Nick froze as he had to readjust his eyes. "I should have known you all would do this type of thing, you goobers," Nick said, surprised. Just. God, I'm turning into Arthur Morgan. No. I'll save that for the end of the video. Just as Nick said that, Naomi walked through the door and said, "I see our little scheme has worked. Happy birthday, Nick." Guys, why? How? I'm a little overwhelmed right now. This has never happened to me. Maverick, you big lovable wuss, was this your idea? Nick said, stumbling on words. "Yes, I did plan this," Maverick said with a grin. "Maverick, you didn't have to." "God, you're so considerate to plan this." Nick then sat down and said, "So, what sort of shenanigans are we doing?" "We chill and watch stuff while eating dinner, cake, ice cream, and drink alcohol," Bryce said. Of course you bring beer, Bryce," Sebastian said, while trying to not laugh. "Well, you guys know the drill. I'm not having any beer or anything. Let's get started," Nick said. About 2 hours later, at 9:25, everybody had gone home, either to their homes in the Dragon's World or out of universe, and Nick and Maverick had cleaned up after the party. Well, it was mostly Nick who cleaned because Maverick was very drunk. After Nick was done cleaning, he went to the bedroom and beginning to fall asleep when Maverick came in and said, "You know, I've been thinking, why don't..." Nick interrupted Maverick by saying, "Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yes, I would like to do that, but not when you're drunk. There's a potential for hurting me when you're drunk, and I don't like getting hurt unless it's worth it, like with the Reza incident. I'm still gonna fucking snuggle you to sleep, you adorable little twerp," Maverick said, approaching Nick. "You could do that regardless. Come here, you big goober," Nick said while holding both his arms out. Maverick would lay on top of Nick, and Nick felt his bones being crushed, but he did not care. He just disabled his pain receptors for his entire body and let Maverick put all of his weight on his lower body and closed his eyes and drifted off to sleep. Nick was awoken by Maverick saying, "Good morning, little sunshine." "Good morning, Maverick. I would like you to feel the bones in my leg real quick," Nick said, smiling. Maverick felt Nick's legs, and a look of concern grew on his face, and he said, Why did you not mention this months ago when I did it the first time?" "Because I don't mind it. Plus, I like feeling your chest on mine, and I could just regenerate it. And also, that feels like a very slight sting to my to Nick here. I say that as that's my name, but it's basically. I'm just gonna do some explaining with war right now. Basically, my characters felt so much pain that what just happened feels basically like nothing. Anyways, I'm gonna continue because I don't. Oh yeah, I already read that. Nick said, but but if I knew this whole time that it was hurting you. Sorry, you still confuse me sometimes, Maverick said. "It's okay. I know I can be very confusing at times. You should go make breakfast while I fix myself up," Nick said, while trying to pull himself into a sitting position. Nick got up to go make breakfast, and Nick quickly regenerated his bones in his lower half of his body and got up and walked to the living room. Once Nick sat down, he picked up a book he had gotten in a delivery from Out of Universe called The Abyss Surround Us, written by Emily Grutsky, and he remembered it slightly from his home universe, as he read it once before, as well as the sequel, when Nick made a realization. Wait, every universe I've been to had been something I've read or seen from back home. But wait, wouldn't I have been to a universe of The Walking Dead or Top Gun or everything else I've seen or read? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but what if the minnow's out there waiting in a different universe? What if I have a way to escape? Nick was broken from thought by Maverick, saying, "Well, that was quick." "I could say the same, since breakfast is already done," Nick said, shaking those thoughts from his head. "What were you thinking, babe?" "Oh, I was thinking about how good yesterday turned out," Nick said. "Oh, I'm glad you liked it. Also, I remember when going to bed, and yeah, I agree, you could get hurt if we do that sort of thing drunk," Maverick said. "We going to work?" Nick asked. "Yeah, but Bryce," Nick interrupted Maverick as he spoke and finished his sentence. "Overdid it with the alcohol and won't be able to come in." "Yeah, that," Maverick said. The, where is it? Where is it? The rest of the day went well, and nothing else happened. And now it was Christmas Eve. After Nick and Maverick got off from work, they went over to Maverick's parents' house and watched more movies, this time with less scaring Nick, and went home and fell asleep in what Nick considered a blanket cocoon. When Nick woke up on Christmas morning, he got up and waited for Maverick to wake up. He decided he would read more of the Abyss series. Nick was about to finish the first book when Maverick walked out of the bedroom and asked, "Are we eating breakfast before we give each other our present we got for each other?" "Yes, we are, and I'm making it today," Nick said. "Sounds good," Maverick said, smiling. Nick quickly made breakfast, which consisted of eggs, bacon, and pancakes. And while Maverick was eating, he went outside to his plane and got the new Focus he had bought for Maverick and went back inside. When Nick got back inside, Maverick asked, "Are you eating?" Yeah, I'm going to eat after we do our thing," Nick said. "Speaking of which, let's start," Maverick said, as he got up and went to the bedroom and brought out a crudely wrapped box. "Okay, you open yours first," Maverick said. "No, as the person who doesn't own the house, you open yours first. Your one first," Nick said, trying not to laugh. "So, it's gonna be like this. I have a solution. We roll a die, and whoever gets a lower number opens first," Maverick said, almost bursting out with laughter, his face red. Nick rolled the die that Maverick handed him, and he got a 3. Maverick then rolled another die and got a 6. Meaning Nick has to open Maverick's gift first. God, I need to make a collection of bloopers from this series. I almost turned into a British weatherman. "Today it is very rainy." I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be an audiobook. Anyways, Nick opened the wrapping to find an X-Men sphere, a spherical object that could fly, take pictures, play audio, make tea, and other things. Now that I mention it, how the fuck does making tea work? Wow, how the hell did we not come up with this? This seems like a fun thing to use, Nick said while plugging the charging base up and setting it up to charge for a bit, then handed Maverick a small box. Maverick opened it and saw a new Focus, and before he could say anything, Nick said, "I got you a new one since the one going by my math is 1,023 years old. 34 years old. And sat in storage for so long that it is very outdated, and I installed some military level stuff on there to give you a bit more of an edge in any situation." "Oh, thank you, Nick. What about yours and the one you gave me?" Maverick said. "Mine can wait a bit longer despite being way older, as in I found it off a dead person. After that damn killer robot situation. But the one I gave you, keep it. There's something I'm going to teach you later, but not now. But there's something I'm going to teach you later, but now we get to relax." After an hour, Nick tested out the X-Men sphere, nearly taking out the tree and a glass cabinet window, due to the controls being unfamiliar to him. The rest of the day, Nick and Maverick went outside and enjoyed the snow that had fallen the night before. The rest of the day, they just watched, movies and relaxed and went to sleep later that night. That night, that night though, Nick had a strange dream. Nick was on a ship that looked like it was made of other ships, and walked on a deck past a big gun on the stern. When he saw a hooded figure walk towards him from the railing with a gun on their hip. Nick recognized the way they walked. It was the way he walked when on a when on a boat. Nick watched as they pulled the gun on him and pulled up a radio and said, "Hey, Captain, we have a stowaway. I'm giving him the boot now." Nick backed up to the railing and said, "Who are you?" "Oh, I thought it was obvious, Nicholas McCone," the person said, disrobing, revealing it to be him in his Emperor's uniform that looks tattered and a minnow tattoo on his left wrist. "And what is your name, me?" Nick said, shocked. "Nicholas McCone Maddock Leong." "Now, that's quite enough. Goodbye, Nicholas," The person turned on a strange object that pulsed blue and emitted a hum, and Nick felt a pain in his chest. Then his legs, as 4 gunshots rang out, and Nick was kicked into the water below. And as he tried to swim, he only had time to see darkness close in around him, and he heard a crack. Then he woke up in a cold sweat next to Maverick, back in their bed. Maverick felt that Nick had moved and was disturbed, and woke up and asked, "Honey, what's wrong?" "I had a bad dream. I don't even know how to comprehend it," Nick said. Maverick pulled Nick closer and began to caress Nick. "Why don't you describe it to me?" Nick looked at Maverick and said, "Well, I was on a ship at night time, and I walked to the back of it when I saw someone in a cloak leaning on a railing. They saw me and walked over to me and pulled out a gun and a radio and addressed somebody as captain. Then they said I was a stowaway and then decided to throw me off the ship. I asked who they were as they walked the way I walked. Then they took off the cloak and it was me. Just me. But my uniform was tattered and worn, and I had a tattoo of a minnow on my left wrist. Then they shot me 4 times, kicked me into the water, and I think something attacked me. I felt my spine get torn apart by something before I woke up. It must have been huge." "Damn, that must have felt terrifying. I'm glad it was not real and you're still here with me, all cozy, dry, and warm," Maverick said. "Thank God for that," Nick said. "What time is it?" Maverick asked. Nick checked the time and said, 2:58 a.m., Nick said. "Well, I guess we should get back to sleep. We have work today," Maverick said as he pulled Nick into him and covered them both up with the blankets again. And Nick slowly drifted off to sleep, forgetting the nightmare he had just had. It had been 5 days since, and it was now New Year's Eve, and everyone from the department had just taken a group photo and gone home while the evening shift came in. At night, in Maverick's house, there's a lot of excitement in the air from Nick, as this is This was his first relatively normal year he had in a long time. The time was 6:32 p.m., and Nick and Maverick were making their last meal of 1761, when Maverick asked Nick, "So, what's your New Year's resolution?" "I guess not to kill anyone. That should be easy to do," Nick said. "I don't think that's gonna really happen." "Yeah, it should be. I think we should also put our God, I need to slow it down. I think we should also put our lasagna in the oven now." Hours passed, and it was quickly 1 minute to midnight, and Nick and Maverick were talking about what they had planned for the upcoming year. "We definitely have to see all the summer festival stuff I missed because of certain people." Reza. "Yeah, it's a shame we could not enjoy the fireworks," Maverick said. Suddenly, they looked at the TV screen, and the countdown from 10 had started. For Nick, time seemed to slow as he realized this was the last few seconds of a long and dark chapter of his long life, and as the countdown reached 0, Nick and Maverick didn't even think. They just kissed each other and sat there before going to bed and snuggling up. The year was now 1762. And no, there are no muskets. I have to clarify that. I have to clarify and ain't that. Anyways, since y'all patiently waited for the video, I need to do Arthur Morgan impression. "Dutch, don't put the aluminum foil on the plasma globe. You're gonna set it on fire, Dutch." Okay, I quit. Okay, I'll stop now. I'll stop. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to do it. I had to do it. Okay. So have fun. Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this with all the bloopers and have fun and Zyjin and John. If you're watching this, you're a goober and you've already read this part, so I don't know why you're watching it. Anyway, Zyjin, have fun. Good night, morning, afternoon, evening, lunchtime. Okay, good everything. Okay, bye.